All right, 7:02, we'll call the July Northport Village Council meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the roll call. Let the record show that all trustees except Nancy Peterson are in attendance. At this time, I'd like to read a letter from Nancy. It says, "Dear Northport Village Council members, I am writing to tender my resignation from the Northport Village Council, effective immediately. It is with much regret and a heavy heart that I make this decision due to my declining health. Serving as a trustee on the Village Council has been a tremendous honor and privilege. I have greatly valued the opportunity to contribute to the betterment of our community and work alongside dedicated individuals who share a common goal of making a positive impact. It has been an enriching experience, and I am grateful for the trust and support extended to me during my tenure. Thank you for your understanding and support at this time. Sincerely, Nancy Peterson." And so at this time, we will add Nancy's resignation to our discussion potential action items under number F, or no, G,
H.
yes.
Or should we put that before G?
Yeah.
Well, before the closed session.
Oh, yeah.
So let's turn.
FA.
Yeah.
All right. Next agenda item is approval of council minutes from June 8th, 2023. Those are in your packets. If there's any additions, corrections.
One quick thing, Robin Schmidt's name is spelled wrong, but that was it. Somebody else might have already told you.
Yeah. I'll move the minutes from the June 8th meeting be approved.
I'll second.
All right, moved by Susan, supported by Laura to approve the minutes from June 8th by consensus. Next item is approval of agenda amendments or additions, if anybody has any. Other than Nancy's resignation. Okay. Next is first public comment. Anyone would like to be recognized for public comment, go ahead and raise your hand or unzoom or unmute. Yep, Kurt.
Hi, I'm Kirk Richards. I'm here representing the Northport Beach Association. Citizen I will wait to hear. I had, under Sue Ager's suggestion, I texted, emailed the president to be put on this agenda, but I don't see us on here, so I will wait to the end of the meeting to voice my comments. Thank you.
You? Anyone else? Anyone else? No?
Go ahead, Todd.
Barbara Weber.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Hello.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Oh, good. Hi. I want to address the social district. I oppose the creation of the social district in Northport. I don't support folks wandering the village with their cups of alcohol. Northport bars, restaurants should accommodate their own guests with their own confined area. I do applaud Citizen Nobles for his modest proposal if the village council remains hell-bent to have a booze social district. Not too long ago, a now village trustee was quoted in print saying, "The best place to drink in Leelanau County is Northport." I ask you, village council, do you really want that tagline attached to Northport? Welcome to Northport, your village for booze. Oh, and we could also add weed. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Thanks, Barbara. Anyone else on Zoom?
You might want to mention to Kirk, I know you want to make your comment at the end, but there's probability we'll be going into closed session for a while, so.
You're right, it might, I agree with you. I think this is the time to do it because it's gonna be a late meeting.
Okay, I'll take the floor then. We approached the village 3 years ago and to see if we could have some changes in the beach association, the beach structure. We were told at that time, everybody was very grateful, polite. Councilman Harper told us that it was the wrong time to proceed because it was after the budget was decided, so we accepted that. We're not in a hurry, we're just trying to resolve a problem. So we sent a letter out, we gave it to the president, he passed it out to everybody on the committees and I hope the council people. And we have yet to have a response. And it's been over 2 years now. So we're not here to find fault, but we're here to examine what's going on and try to figure out what we should be doing. For example, the gentleman who runs the harbor does a great job, and he's a nice guy, but he's too damn busy to handle the beaches, to put out the floats in time. The floats are never out in time. The floats should be out Memorial Weekend, just like Traverse City, Green Lake, all the beaches, all the way around Elk Rapids. They're not. We had people swimming in the beach Memorial Day, and there was nothing to protect them. Floats, now, so you'll understand this. I have a water safety instructor certificate, so I know what I'm supposed to do. Floats in a pool divide pools. Floats on a beach protect people. They don't keep them in, they protect them. So we have been asking for the floats to be put out at the top of the harbor, all the way around and down, giving space to people who rent, the sail club. But that deep, people are going. You have put the floats out this year 2.5 feet deep. And every person, except little kids, and their parents make them play out by shore, have to go past those floats. And when they pass those floats, they are in danger of boats that come in, and boats come in. 4th of July is a good example. Boats came in. They just put up the floats on June 16th, 17th. And the next day, we got a boat parked 10 feet from the floats that are 2.5 feet deep in an area that should be entitled to swimming and not boating. We have plenty of water. If a boat comes in, they use the harbor. We have docks there. Then they walk to the beach. There are no boats allowed on the beach, but they are. We have a plane land the other week, right up on the swimming beach. No floats out, so, what the hell? We'll just pull up on the beach. Kids are swimming. People are renting things from Mr. Harper. And there's no need for that. If we would follow Traverse City, Elk Rapids, and follow all the rules, we would have a wonderful, decent beach. There are no dogs allowed on beaches at any of those parks. There are no dogs allowed without leashes at any of those parks. There are no smoking allowed. Do you know how many people smoke nowadays? 11.2% of the population smokes. That's vapes too. But, and there is no law that says they have a right to smoke. So we have all these environmental.
1 minute. In 1 minute.
Okay, well, since I'm going to take a couple. We have all these environmental laws about air quality. There's a big sign in Traverse City beaches. No smoking. We care about our children and what they breathe. 2nd degree smoking causes more cancer than people who smoke. It's just a fact. It's a fact. And we just we're lost. We're a group of people who are trying to make the village better, and we're lost because we've waited and 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 waited, and nothing has taken place. It's not that damn hard. You put-
Just
you put
watch
the-
your language while you're speaking in the
Yeah,
public forum.
okay,
That's the
it's
second
not that
time.
hard. You put the floats out
5
there
minutes.
and you bring them down. That's it. It's not hard. It costs a little bit of money. And then what do we get? Well, we can't put the floats out because we don't have a boat. Now, I was told that 4 years ago. Why do we have signs in one part that says a dog should be on a leash and we don't have them in another part? Why are we allowing smoking on the beach where people get a breathful of cigarette smoke and they're entitled not to? They're entitled to breathe fresh air. And you have allowed them to smoke, 11.2% of the people. It's not right. We are here together. We don't want to have to put it on to vote on it. We just thought maybe we could just approach the village council. And it would be a simple thing, but obviously it's not. It's obviously not. How can you tell me that the guy who puts the floats in, I'm finding fault with him, doesn't have a boat to do it? How can you tell me that?
6 minutes.
What do we
We'll
use?
give you one more minute.
Oh, well, thank you. Will you put me on the agenda next time?
We'll see.
Pardon me?
We'll see.
We'll see. What do you mean we'll see?
This is your time for public comment. It's not time for me to engage in a back and forth with you.
I'm not asking you to go back and forth. I said, will you put our group on the agenda for next meeting so that we can come in and report? Yes or no?
No, we're going to address the Northport Beach Association and the Parks and Trails report.
Okay. Will you put us on the agenda? I'm making a formal request. Yes or no?
No.
Okay, thank you. I know that we're supposed to be a government for the people, but I guess obviously we're not. And you can't time limit me then.
Yeah, the public comment is limited to 5 minutes. We've extended you to 2
Okay, I'm
additional
not
minutes.
done yet.
Your time is up.
I'm not done.
Sir,
Your time is up.
You
Point of order.
You
Public
won't
comment is
put me, I
ended.
don't care. Call the cops.
Kirk?
I am here because I asked to be here and you didn't put me on it. And you never talk to me. You never talk to me.
Point of order.
Point of order.
You can point of order all the time. I'm
Mr.
sat where
Richards,
you
I
sat.
called you today at 4:30, left a message for you to contact me to set up a meeting to discuss this with you. I don't know if you got your message.
I did not
Yeah, so I
have,
called you.
I did not have any message.
No, I called you at 4:30 today because I met with Chris.
I have no message from you.
Well, I can show you my phone that I called you.
I'm not saying you didn't. I
Again,
said
the
I
public
got
comment
your
session for
phone. I
Mr.
have no
Richards has
message.
ended. Please.
I
Please,
represent a whole bunch of people, not just me, a bunch of citizens who are really
You're
upset.
going to be asked to be excused
We're
from
gonna
this
call
building.
911.
Pardon me?
You're going to be asked to be excused from this building, and if we do have to call the cops, we will call the cops.
That's your privilege.
Yes, it is.
And it's my privilege to sit here as a
But you-
citizen.
Public
of
comment
Northport.
ended for you, Mr. Richards.
I asked to
Please
be
stop.
put on the agenda, you said no.
We're addressing you in the Parks and Trails.
Am I going to be able to respond to the
You
Park
are
and Trail?
not, you are not, and you should know a formal letter has been mailed to you with the village's response to your
Kurt, there is another
questions.
public comment at the end of the meeting, so you might want to come back in an hour.
That's okay. It's the same shit I've had all the time.
Yeah, you'll be receiving an official response from the village president.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In 3 years, thank you. But the point is this, you are putting people's safety at risk because you refuse to do a simple thing. And when some child is killed, then you'll say, oh my God, what are we gonna do?
You probably hope that'll happen. All right. Any other public comment?
I do want to say for the record, I did call him today at 4:30 after Chris and I met and offered him a chance to meet to resolve some of his issues. And Chris did write a letter to him, it's just yesterday, and we don't have a mailing address, so that's one reason I called him to ask for a mailing address, we didn't want a letter, so. Just say we did follow up with them, requested a private meeting. And the public does not have the right to be demanded on an agenda, it has to come from a council member. Any of you could request item place agenda, but the public does not have the right to demand to be put on the agenda. So that's up to the council members to determine that.
Doesn't look like there's any other public comments.
All right, we will move on from public comment to correspondence.
Okay, I have 3 letters of correspondence. We have one from FEMA regarding the floodplain map, and our ordinance that we amended and submitted is all completed. We have the email from Mr. Nobles regarding the social district. It's titled A Modest Proposal. And then today, I received correspondence from Mr. Brigham regarding the Northport Creek and LG, and it's titled A Michigan Trout Stream in Peril.
That's it? Okay. Next up, staff reports, potential actions. Clerk?
Okay, so you have our clerk treasurer report that was submitted to you, along with, I just thought it was helpful to put together a written report, just so that the village council this time around for the month of July, there's a lot going on. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions. The budget amendments I thought was for informational right now, and that'll be like a continuation so that everyone is aware. These are things that we discussed in finance, but I thought it'd be nice to include in my report. The pilot ordinance did come back from legal counsel, and it's recommended that that goes to finance because there's a financial impact to the village. And so the finance committee, I believe, will be reviewing that at our meeting next week on the 12th.
Any questions for the clerk?
Just, do you have a history of the number of delinquent water accounts? Is this an increase or no? No, it's pretty standard.
It's less, I would say.
Okay, I wondered if some of the COVID problems resulted in people having trouble paying their bills, but apparently they're keeping up.
Yeah, as we've had some properties change over, it's changed for the better, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. And as you see, there's information on the Michigan Waterways Grant. So if you have any questions, it was approved on the 22nd of June. I spoke with the state, and we're just waiting for our money, so.
I have a quick question. Is the painting of the dock house for the all custom painting, is that within the budget for the marina for repairs and maintenance, or?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. I believe finance, we looked at it,
Yeah.
and it was, there's a budget for $5,000 repairs and maintenance. I may capture some budget amendments for the marina.
Okay.
We'll see,
Yeah.
kind of caps out near the end of its season, so.
And then it looks like there was a lot less overtime this month too than previous times, so that was good. For the budget.
All right, thanks, Joni. Treasurer, deputy clerk, Cindy.
Yes, you have my report, which highlights all the revenues, the taxes that were mailed out at the end of the month, last month, and I've gotten about a dozen back so far. The one thing I would like to point out is the total fireworks contributions to date is $6,191, and that does not include the cans that I haven't picked up yet, so that will be added next week.
Ours has some.
So what is the total expense? My relatives asked me for the fireworks this year. They were very impressed.
We'll be telling that after
Okay,
the
after it all adds up.
Yeah.
But it was huge. It was fantastic. I especially liked the ending. It was very different stuff. But then I missed it last year because I was disabled, so maybe. But everyone loved it. Thank you.
Anything else for the treasurer? Hearing none. DPW, Chris?
Yes, I hope everybody has a report in their packet. Something that's not included in that report I got this afternoon with the beach testing that Benzie and Illinois County Health Department does every week. And we were the low achievers this time. So we're at 4.4 million, the lowest in both counties. So that's a nice, refreshing change. So any questions on my report?
I'd just like to add, you thanked us for this fireworks, but we need to thank you for the work you guys did too, because we did work very well together.
Yes, we got it. I think we're getting better every year.
Yes,
So thank you.
thank you to all involved.
The team effort. And again, heard nothing but only reviews. Did very well. So good job. Thank you.
Anything else for Chris? Nope. Okay, we'll move on to our marina. Bill?
I'm there. Now I'm unmuted. Okay, there we go. You have my report. Man, the one thing I really want to highlight is there ain't no geese. And I think that's just fantastic. There's been every once in a while, we get a goose or two that wanders up on the beach, but they don't stay there long. I want to give a special shout out to John DeGroot, who lives not far from the Hazarat Beach, and I get a text message from John about 6 o'clock, 6:30 every morning. It's the daily goose report, and it's been vacant of geese for a long time, and I think it's wonderful for the people using the beaches and the people in the marina and the people using the parks. So I think the trick this year has been we have a goose squawker that squawks a warning sign to the geese, and that seemed to maybe be doing the trick, but we just think it's fantastic.
Bill, when did you put in that goose squawker?
It's been in for about a month. We started with one that was a bird squawker that gave general, it had some hawks and some falcons, and that sort of worked, but the geese got wise to it. Then we purchased a goose squawker that gives the sound of actually Canada geese giving distress calls. And we had the volume turned up a little bit loud, and we got a request from a resident to turn the squawker down a little bit, and we did. And it still seems to be working. I just think it's a miracle, and I'm probably jinxing it by saying that. But
how much did the squawker cost?
I think it was $249, Susan.
And it should last indefinitely, right?
It should last until they develop a new language. Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep. And there are a couple of other things on in my report that are on the agenda also.
Okay, do we want to move to those now? Are you talking about the Camp Marine agreement in Anavan?
Unless anybody has any questions.
Anybody else have any questions?
Nope. Okay. So next is what? The Anavan proposal?
Cam.
The CAM proposal. Okay. First I need to ask, it didn't look to me as though you had the proposal in your packet. Did you get the proposal in your packet?
Yeah, it's here.
Okay. Okay. So it's been 30 plus years since we have updated this proposal or this agreement. It's been $10 for 3 nights for 30 plus years, and everything goes up in price and cost. It's more expensive to run the marina. Worked with Zach and the management at CAM. Also ran this past the village attorney. We now have an agreement that is that's going to be $15 per night. It addresses things that were kind of hanging loose, like how many nights can they stay, and what about bad weather, and what do we do if they stay longer, and what do we do if they want to plug in and get electricity. All that stuff is addressed in this agreement. It is an agreement in perpetuity, but it allows for us to make changes at any time in the future that we want to make changes also. So, and if anybody has any questions about this, I can do my best to answer them for you.
Are we voting on adopting this?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we adopt the agreement with Camp Marine that's in the packet that has been reviewed by the village attorney.
Second.
Moved by Will, supported by Hugh to approve the agreement with Northport Boatyard Camry. Roll call vote, starting with Will.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
And yes. Okay.
I think it's a good jumping off point for our work with Cam. The next thing is is the Anavon Wi-Fi proposal. I guess I don't want to get into all of the ups and downs that we've had with our Wi-Fi at the marina, because it could go on for a couple of hours just explaining. We do have Cody Lewis from Anavon on Zoom with us tonight. The Wi-Fi at the marina is suffering seriously. I don't even have a phone at the dock house right now. I'm using the village, the cell phone that I have, my work cell phone, stays at the dock house, and that's the phone we use, which is really not sufficient. Complaints daily about Wi-Fi access. We have people working from their boats that aren't able to work from their boats. We need to do something. Anavon has been gracious enough to offer to let us postpone payment on this until next budget year. It's a proposal of about $7,200 that will upgrade the Wi-Fi and get us the speed and the bandwidth and the throughput that we need for modern boating. And as I said, Cody from Anavon is here to maybe explain this a little bit better for anybody who has any questions.
Let me talk about the financial terms, and then Cody can do the details. So Bill was at his wit's end a week ago or so, frustrated. We tried different things, none of them seem to be working. You have an email that I sent to Albany that kind of explains our position with them. And so that's a separate topic, but I called the president of Avalon at Bill's request, had a discussion, and we both realized this is a major issue. They had a special staff meeting to see what they can do to resolve the challenge, and it has been a challenge for both parties. They realize finances are an issue here with the village. Bill has been talking about this for the 2024 budget year cycle. I think all of you were in favor of doing it next year. So we came up with a proposal. They're willing to do the work starting this weekend, install it, have a system that we all feel confident will work long term. Will be all new equipment, will not be tied into any of the other equipment. And so it'll be easy to monitor if there are any issues, which I think there will be. This is not a mesh system, which has been a problem in marinas. And we can pay for this in the 2024 budget year at 0% interest. So in a nutshell, they're willing to basically forward the money to us, do the work, sign a contract, obviously, but we can pay it from 2024 budget year. And that's kind of after discussion, we came up with this idea to go forward. So that's the financial big picture, and there's a gentleman there who can talk about the technical part. But from a simple term, we get the system Bill's been wanting for the last several months and not sooner. I know Bill has mentioned in the past, at some point we need to put a new system in there. So we're hoping to get through this year. That did not happen. It's a major issue. Not to have Wi-Fi. So this is, I think, a great solution that a new system can be installed, completely new, no used parts, not tied into any of those systems that Avalon's willing to guarantee and maintain. Because their challenges, the system we have now is kind of a combination of newer and older stuff. And some of it is a question about who has access to what. And so this will remove those doubts, give complete access, all the equipment, and pay for it in the 2024 year at the office.
Susan?
Do we have any bids from any other companies, or why was this company chosen to approach?
When we did our switchover, initial switchover from the old company to a new surveillance system and a new Wi-Fi, I did request some proposals from a couple of other companies. Anavon was the only company I heard from. And it's like many things in Northport, finding somebody who will make the trip out is sometimes the biggest challenge.
I think they've proven that. Also, we don't want two different providers working on what's essentially the same network, because that's the problem we're having now is the guy from Elevate may or may not have sabotaged what we have now because he thought he was in a contract. But there is some indication that he did. So the last thing we want to do is get into a situation where we've got two providers at the same time. Do you want a motion so we can discuss this further, or do you want to hear from Anna first?
The other thing is the waterfront committee by consensus
Oh, yeah, suggest.
approves this 100%.
Yeah, so,
Well, I move that we approve the proposal from Anavon Technology Group for wireless networking system at the marina. Support.
All right, moved by Susan, supported by Jane. Any discussion, further discussion?
I know the guy from Anavon is ready to talk, but I think we're ready to
Yeah,
vote. We can move things
We
along.
actually asked him to be here in our request if there's any technical questions.
I don't have any.
So,
No, we had a conference call with Bill, Chet, and myself,
I was just
and
gonna say-
Michael
Yeah,
Madsen explained it, and it sounds like
I
we're
trust.
yeah.
and also, I called a gentleman that I worked with previously, who's a retired IT person, high up with a local company, and I asked him what he thought of Anavon and its services, and he was very complimentary. He's an independent, does not tie into the company, but he's had very high praise for this company. So we get all the equipment, start with a company that is reliable, and get it this year, and for next year.
So if the finance committee can uncover any funds out of this budget year, that certainly would be a priority to reimburse their offer of zero interest loan.
Yes, that was very generous. Yeah.
That was.
All right, so to approve the Anavon wireless network proposal for G. Marston Dame, roll call vote starting with Susan.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
And yes.
So you have any comments?
Thanks for joining us, Cody.
Do you have anything to say?
I mean, I'm happy to get all the issues fixed. That's what it kind of comes down to. We've ran into quite a few things. It's relieving to kind of get it so we're not coming up there so many times. And we'll make sure that everything's working good. I know, like, from my standpoint, because I'm the IT manager, so I'm kind of overseeing and consulting internally to get the issues fixed. I went up there today and actually visited and walked around just to make sure we're checking all of our boxes and stuff like that. But otherwise, our technicians have been there. I know the only other issue that I've identified that this doesn't cover, but is included kind of just with our services. We have noticed that the Spectrum modem on a regular basis, the actual internet circuit itself, is requiring a reboot for some reason, you have, I think it's a 300 by 20 circuit, might be 400. It's just after about a week I'm not really sure why, it's dropping down to about 70 by 20. So that's something we're kind of monitoring and checking. It might be that we kind of work with Spectrum to get them to come out there and replace the modem, but I believe that's already happened once. So it might be something that it's probably not going to get fixed right away. Sometimes with these kinds of issues with Spectrums, we got to kind of poke them a few times before they get a line worker out there to actually check the readings at the tap and at the pole and stuff like that. But otherwise, I think you guys are all set, and this will take care of all the problems.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Cody.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, nothing else for Marina. We'll move on to zoning administrator. Joni?
Again, you have my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Anyone? Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious, the 215 North Mill, that's Garden Lake.
Oh, yeah, that was my question.
What was, tell us a little bit about it. What was the violation, or alleged violation?
I'm in the process of an investigation of, hearing from both parties. It's regarding the location of the food truck on the property.
Yeah, that's what I was guessing.
And I'd be happy to share with you, it's, our village zoning is fairly clear about parking. We have Article 5 describes the parking, which is, should be 8 feet from the property line, any property line. And so that's being addressed along with, I have a complaint about gases and noise.
I'm guessing it's the next door neighbor. Yeah. Okay, good luck.
I'm waiting for a complaint form to be completed.
Thank you. Good.
Any other questions for the zoning administrator?
Is there anything from the property on Third and Rose that's been in communications or further action with the peer group?
No, I just know they called about putting the saunas on the property. They could do that, so no.
Okay.
I did get some good news, talking with Trudy Galla, that the old hospital building has applied for a grant.
Awesome, that was my other question, was that one?
Yeah, and Ms. Galla was quite hopeful that they would get that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Next up, interim village manager, Chet.
Yeah, I have a series of consideration for the council. You don't have to take action tonight or, wait till the new manager comes in, but these are just my observations. And last month, I kind of pointed some things out, and I said I'd follow up in writing more details. So that's my goal today. One is the village email system. There's, I know last month, we have a hodgepodge of emails that village employees and council members are working on, using for personal and village-related issues, which is going to cause a problem at some point, because under the FOIA laws, if you're using your personal emails and there's a request, and if the person believes you're not being forwarded, and there's no one at the village that has access to personal emails to verify that. In theory, they could request access to all of your personal emails. And so I would strongly recommend, your legal counsel would strongly recommend, anyone would recommend you not use personal emails for village business. If there is a FOIL, for example, and you use a village email, an independent party can go in and check just your professional emails and say whether these are part of the FOIL or not. So I have this attached sheet that shows proposed emails that for council members only, we would do it for all employees also too. But I believe the village has the village of Northport.net as domain that has been registered, and could use that. And I'll recommend at some point you make a motion to switch at a certain date to this email system, where all of you use the same email. And it kind of ties into number 2 about the iPads. I'll talk about that too, if you can look that well. We talked about, and I brought mine here.
Chuck, could I ask a quick question on the email? Are there additional charges associated with having more users? So we'll need to budget.
It's not significant.
No, I'd have to look into it. I know that our original Google Suite included, I want to say 10 or 11, so.
It's, I'm sure it's not significant,
Yeah.
like $5. Yeah, it's some, yeah, I don't quote, but I think you're about, close there. It's a small amount. But, and I'll just show you what I recommended. And we did this at the county, and we did this when I worked as school superintendent. We switched to iPads, and these are what they look like. This is not the newest version, but this is what they look like. The keyboard is attached, pops off. When you charge the iPad, it charges the keyboard also. You can use it with or without the keyboard. There's apps that you could store in. So everything that you have in your packet here, Joni could one scan in, send it to you, and you have access to it. And we had set up where all the emails go right to your iPad here. If you want, you also could put that email address on your phone or other devices to access to. But if someone does a FOIL request, it'd be easy to go through it. And I did some pricing on this. And there's different used versions and so forth, but the price is not much different. So the latest version of the iPad is number 10, and it's with 64 gigs, which is plenty of memory, $449. The case is $249. And if you want, there's a warranty of a couple of bucks a month for 3 years. But if you take it aside, you pay $813 per iPad, and they would last. I replace up the county about every 5 years. And for basic functions, they do get updated on a regular basis, but they still work. A council member would resign or retire, that could be wiped clean, a new council member would get the iPad. So something to think about. And that would, I know some of you are concerned about trying to have too many email accounts going back and using, but this would be very clear because your village emails would come right to your iPad. You would have access them through other units, but this would be your official for village use. And if you break it down for 5 years, it would be $100-some per year per council member.
I have one sitting in a drawer. I was gonna wipe it clean, and I don't need to cost the village anything. It's exactly what you have right there.
Yeah. But it's simple to use, it's good apps. If you want to keep, let's say everything was scanned in here and it's emailed to all of you, you have a question about what happened 5 months ago, you could pull it up and have it all. And then just think how much time it took Joni to make all these
Well,
copies.
paper.
And just the paper alone, and then you have to store it somewhere or you dispose of it. It's not very efficient use of time. When you look at the cost of paper and the time, I think it would pay for itself. I believe one, you asked me about the foundation, and I did meet with.
And she said no.
No, but I did follow up on
Thank
that,
you.
because I knew you were gonna ask me about that.
Thank you.
So any questions about those 2 items?
On certainly the finance committee agenda.
Yeah, which I did. So you kind of gave instructions on that PDF to, you said that those had been set up and here was a passcode, but I went to try to.
We just,
Okay.
that's just a sample.
Oh, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah, right. We can do it myself, probably. No, I have to have your domain password, so.
Well, yeah, we can,
You have to do it on your
if
end.
you wish to do it, I suggest you, at some point, pass a motion with deadline date that everyone has to switch to this date, and it'll be on the website, all the email addresses, everything.
Shall we do that?
And that, when we do that, that'll be for all council and employees.
Yeah.
I recommend all
I
employees.
think we should do it now, even without switching to iPads, getting the uniform.
Yeah.
You know, let's do that. Let's get that going immediately, and then we can. I can do that
Let's
thing.
say, no later than August 1st.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
I mean,
So I move that we require all council members to,
I don't know if we have to vote, if we just
do we
agree.
just do it, let's just
Yeah,
do
we
it.
just voice the resolution. Or if you guys want to vote, go ahead. It's fine.
I'm not, I'm sure it
I don't think we-
requires.
I think it's just something we want to volunteer.
well, if you want to make a motion, it would enforce it, and
Okay.
also put in that employees have to switch.
Okay.
That way we have
Okay,
one.
I move that by August 1st, all village council members as well as staff be required to change their professional emails to the form that's suggested here, first initial, last name @villageofnorthport.net.
Second.
Moved by Susan, supported by Will, to have all council members and staff move over to a village email by August 1st. Roll call vote, starting with Will.
Yes.
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 Jane?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes, okay. It's like say everybody's name.
And iPad, you want to refer to the finance committee?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Is that good, Jane?
Yeah, I've got a list of 4 things right now.
Okay.
Matter of finance.
Okay. As you may or may not know, with Apple iPads, there is no price break, no matter where you buy them, it's the exact same price, there's no discount. So where you get it from? if you get them right through Apple, there's free engraving, they actually could be engraved Village of Northport. Sort of things, but if you buy them there or Staples or anywhere else, it's the exact same price. So we can talk about that. All right, standards of practice is another thing that was discussed. It came up when I did a survey of council employees.
Give budget year options.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one, okay.
I was curious about that.
I was looking at my memo, not at the agenda. All right, one of the things that came up is I asked people why we have a March 1st budget year, and no one seemed to know the answer. And I had discussion, it does seem to cause some issues, because as I understand, the budget process usually starts in the fall, then you have the elections in November, and then you council members come on, and then you basically have to start from the beginning, because new council members really have not been involved in previous discussions. So sometimes they feel rushed to make a decision. The more senior council members feel like they start all over again with the process, and it's a little haphazard. And so I asked, why is it a March 1st? I don't know any units government, well, at least locally, it's March 1st day. No one could answer that. We did ask our auditor, why March 1st? It was an 1895 law in Michigan. There was concern from the state about villages not maintaining proper funds. So in 1895, they mandated it. Villages do have the right to switch, which she said was a fairly easy process. Needs to be a resolution done. The state has to be notified. I'm sure there's a timeline. But Jonah, your opinion, the two of you, since you were the finances, I think there's some perks of switching.
Yeah.
I
would say to the July 1 budget year. That way council members come on, they have time to be on.
That was the recommendation of the finance committee as well.
But if you like me, I can start the process and get the proper steps in place and resolution. As I understand, we need to pass a resolution and send it to the state of Michigan. I'm sure there's a timeline, so I'm not sure when we can start it, but if you wish, we can start the research. Get that.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Okay. I think, Joni, there are some perks
Oh,
that
yeah.
you would definitely, it'll be a transition, first transition year may be a little challenging, but in the long run, I think it'll be beneficial.
We'll know what our taxes are, which is.
Yeah, and our, the marijuana tax.
So that means we'd have a little bit longer this spring to do the budget. So we're giving ourselves a little bit of, but that also means we're having our budget hearing in June.
That also means we don't get new money until July 1st.
Well, we have to see what the timeline is in the legal process. I don't know if we have to give the state so much notice, we may not be able to do it that quickly. I just don't know. But
We'll find out.
we'll find out. It sounds like there's support to go forward.
Is July better than June 1st though? I mean, I'm just thinking summer meetings and how much people hate them. And actually you want to get the public involved in the budget hearings.
We could hold the budget hearing in June.
You don't have
Most
to hold.
That's a good
years
point.
are
Okay,
January 1st or July 1st.
okay, then let's do what everybody else does. I like it.
So you hopefully have a draft by May.
Yeah, okay.
Draft in June.
Good.
It'll probably be a little like you're saying, it'll be a little complicated at first, but once we get used to it.
Yeah.
it'll be
I'm sure we can
better.
get through it, but I think in the long run, it'll be smoother and easier for you council members to be part of the process, not feel so rushed.
Good. Okay.
So we'll get you more information. We'll put that on next month's agenda and give you more information. You don't need a motion or anything, because we're just gonna proceed and get you the steps, the legal process that needs to take place. All right, next is standard practice. And you have a draft document with you that was reviewed by the Employee Relations Committee, I believe. And this is just, I did this at the county, I also did this when I was school superintendent. It's not a legal document. It's simply holding people accountable and trying to create a higher level of understanding, communication, and dialogue. One of the things that came out during the SWOT survey and during my interview with people is people would like to have, some people call it an ethics policy. The challenge with ethics policy is ethics means different things to different people. And so I call it standards of practice policies, probably wordsmithing. But it's not like it's a legal document. It's something I've done in the past, at the county. If you walk in there, I think it's still posted. Every department head signed this when I first came on, and we updated a couple times. But it does help when there are conflicts to refer to it, and hopefully people will abide by it. And this is a draft, and it could be used by the council and or the employees. And it went through the committee, and the committee endorsed it. Obviously, it's just a draft. They talked about potentially adding some stuff and changing some stuff, which is perfectly fine, but I thought at least have started a dialogue.
This clearly has no enforcement
No.
mechanisms, no mention of censure or anything like that.
No, and really, and we talked about that, and not with the village. It doesn't matter if you're township, it doesn't matter if you're county, if you're an elected official, you can basically say and do pretty much anything you want. The only option for the public, if they're upset, is to recall, or from a council or a county government, is you do have a right to censure somebody. But once again, that's just a verbal thing, there's no
Is that
legal.
is that in our performance, or is that anywhere in any of our documents, that possibility of censure?
The possibility of censuring, I believe, is in the general law village act.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And we don't have it in our.
Okay, but it is in.
but you have it, right.
Well, that's
It's a
good.
symbolic vote.
Yeah.
And you've heard about the Michigan House and Senate for
Mhm.
years have censored members,
Mhm.
but does not remove them.
Right. No, I support this.
The other thing is, it's voluntary to sign it. I mean, you can't make
Right.
anybody sign it.
No, you can't make anyone sign it.
I probably wouldn't,
I guess it's just,
Why wouldn't you?
personal reasons, freedom of speech, that kind of thing. I'm not going to live myself. I also think people should be accountable. You know, I just have a different view on, you know, what I say.
so it's up to the council if you wish to pursue this or request it. And you're right, you cannot mandate anyone. The employees, you have some authority, but in terms of council members, you cannot mandate.
I personally would like us to adopt something, at least on a trial basis, and see if it gives us any more structure to the way we behave in public.
I support that too.
Is that a form of motion?
I can make a motion. I think we asked Chet to provide this for feedback if there are other items, but it's, since it's not a legally binding document, it can be changed at any time, so I'll move that at least we adopt this as a draft, standards of practice for Village of Northport leaders, effective immediately.
I'll second.
Moved by James, supported by Hugh, to adopt the Village of Northport Leaders Standards of Practice. Any further discussion?
If it's approved, we'll put it on better stationery, and then you would have, each would have the option of signing it if you wish.
Okay.
And then we would probably put it on a public display somewhere.
No more needs to move the roll call.
Okay. Bye.
Call the question if
Yeah.
there's no more discussion.
I kind of, I don't know if it's here, but I'll tell you what I don't like about it is that it kind of says you're, you know, I grew up in a household that said question authority, and when your politically elected leaders make mistakes, you should call them out on it. And I firmly believe in that, and I'm not going to change. And this document says you shouldn't do that. And so it goes against everything I was raised to believe. So I will be voting no. I think it's kind of silly because it's not enforceable. And I don't think it furthers the democratic process. You vote for something, you're sitting at this table, you better have a damn good reason. And you better be able to say to the public why you voted for it. And you ought to be able to say, you know what, I made a mistake. because we've made a lot of mistakes since I've been on this council, and nobody on this table that's voted for those things has ever apologized or ever admitted it. And so I'm 100% against this. You should be. You should be willing to say, I voted for it for this reason, or I voted for it for this reason, and you know what, I was wrong. But nobody at this table wants to do that except me.
Well, I think that's exactly the kind of personal attacks that I think we'd like to try to avoid.
Well, it's just not the way I was raised. It's not the way I look at democracy.
Well, those conversations can be had personally and directly, as this says, instead of in a public forum like this.
Democracy
The
is played out.
the word honest is right there in the second. We will be honest,
I can support that. I've never lied about anything except at
loyal,
this table.
trustworthy.
That's fine. But so,
Anyway, I support this. It is a statement of our best aspirations. It's like the 10 Commandments. People break the 10 Commandments all the time, but at least they're a statement of values. So I support this as a statement of values.
to me, it looks like a way to sweep mistakes under the rug and say, well, we all did this together, even though some of us were not in favor of it. And I'm not going to do that. There's no accountability in taking that kind of action. So you guys do what you want.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
All right.
All right, zoning administrator search. This is I think it's been on the agenda for 4 straight months, maybe. This is my 4th meeting, and it's been discussed every month I've been here. And as I mentioned last month and before that, I think Chris started at first trying to find a process to replace Joni. Joni, thank you for staying on behind your date. And I reached out to all the zoning officials in New County. We started with some private consultants, did Networks Northwest, former council governments, called a couple individuals, and everyone's very busy, does not have time, or does not have the manpower or the willingness to take this on. But 3-4 people suggested that I call Mr. Mansfield and so forth, so we did that. So we truly did look at all options. Like I said, we approached the township individual partnerships, we approached the nonprofit. Oh, that's my ring in my phone here. So, and all of them referred to Mr. Mansfield. So Joe and I met with Mr. Mansfield on several occasions. He's here. Last month, we literally gave this to you the day of the board meeting, and so you didn't have time to review it. And Mr. Mansfield was kind enough to come here to Northport, which I guess he does on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, anytime to drive up the bay, and
So,
there's a lot of consultants that don't get to do that, so I took advantage.
So instead of me going through it, you want to just give an overview, and they do have a copy.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. So I'm the president of Mansfield Land Use Consultants. We're located at the Commons in Traverse City. We are primarily, and I used to work for a municipal-based firm, but I was doing a lot of private sector stuff, and that firm chose to cross the fence between the municipality and private sector work. So when I started my own firm, I really had the idea that we would just concentrate on one issue, and it's worked, and it makes you feel good that you're not crossing the line and those kind of things. However, in Christina Deering's on the phone tonight, but we had the chance to hire the former zoning administrator for Peninsula Township, and we do a lot of work there, and I had a lot of good pressure from people to say she's a good person, she's a good staff person, hire her. Wasn't shortly thereafter that the manager got a hold of me through a recommendation from another zoning administrating firm that we work with. That said, hey, would you look at taking Northport? I got to tell you, in 30-some years, 40-some years of me being up here, I think I've done 2 projects in Northport. So it was one of those, I don't see our firm doing much up here. I don't see a conflict of interest. You guys are riding, I know it's hard to see that sometimes as a board, but you're riding a high wave right now of good work. And you should be very proud of that. And I see that with enthusiasm to be a part of that. I am a township supervisor of almost 30 years. I'm 70% state land. I've got 460 people. It's been a thrill and honor to move through that organization. But I know how hard it is right now with everybody looking for zoning administrators. It's not, we can't find just anybody to work who wants to be a zoning administrator. It is almost a thankless job next to assessing and those things. So I know how tough it is. So it's also my purpose to help serve our community. Okay? And I've been about that for a long time. I had a long talk with Christina. She sees this as an expansion of her portfolio of work. I will tell you, she looks at it, I look at it as a very service-oriented position. There's a lot of commitment behind it, and in our firm, it's pretty much a law that you will answer any phone call, you will answer any email or communication within 24 hours. It's a service. There are timelines these contractors have, and people have issues with their neighbors. They can't wait. So service is a big thing with us, and that's also been a successful position in our company too. So we looked at your ordinance. I tell you, I look at a lot of ordinances across the state. There's nothing really curious in it or anything. It's pretty straightforward, pretty well done. We looked at history of projects, some of them that Tony's done. Nothing out of the ordinary that I used to deal with. So with enthusiasm, we have a proposal for $1,500 a month to handle the day-to-day needs of the zoning. Special use permits and PUDs, which is one of the things we specialize in. We do, would request that you move ahead with your escrow, funding, because anymore, where those things can go and where the opposition to those elements can go, it's far and broader. There's just no telling. But I think also what Christina is getting in through this as our staff member, we have engineers, architects, landscape architects, surveyors, she can walk right down the hallway. And zoning is no longer, it's a setback. It's a very composition of design elements with drainage and sewer and water and all those things. So she'd be able to walk right down the hallway and get those things answered. So you're getting the whole staff for what we're proposing to be $1,500 from the straight fee. So I'm enthused about it. So I hadn't driven up here. I don't know, it's been several years the other day, and everything was buzzing, and you guys were getting everything ready. It was a beautiful day. So hats off to you, and we're all excited to be potentially a part of it.
So one thing I was going to say, because the discussion we had back in April about the village manager, somebody thought you should have a village manager by zoning, but that would limit the number of people, the qualifications people who apply. So the job is not posted as zoning administrator. Today we'll be going close session and look at those things. We have not talked to any of the candidates about being zoning administrator, but it may make sense that we at least have that dialogue with the candidates, see if they're interested before you take a vote. Obviously, we endorse the proposal by Mr. Mansfield, but I know you talked about to see if the village manager would be willing to take that on or not.
Right.
And so we probably should have a discussion before you take official action. So nothing against the proposal or, like I said, we truly have done our research and reached out, and we are both recommending that if there's not a suitable candidate that has a background and wants to take on zoning, that we enter
I just have a couple quick questions. Sure. Does your firm handle all the zoning needs for any other villages or municipalities?
No, most of the cases we get called in are through acquaintances of people I know through the political network. gotten into, some special cases involving resort work, because we did a lot of that, some on wineries, breweries, the fun stuff we call it, where we specialize in it, and so we're kind of brought in as.
So this would be a first for your firm?
Yeah, for my firm, yeah, but not for the staff involved.
Okay.
We used to do zoning and some of the other firms we do.
Yeah, what township board do you sit on?
I sit on Union Township, which is, we're just north of Fife Lake. So Boardman, Ranch Rudolph is my claim to fame in the Boardman River. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And one last question, do we have any notion of how this would work if someone called the village and said, I've got a zoning question? We just refer them to your phone number or your email?
We just had a dialogue with, when the plans have been worked out, we even talked about giving them a village email address.
That's what I
It
would
was
like.
a phone number that could be transferred to a cell phone, so we can work that out.
Okay.
But our goal, if this does go through, if someone calls or emails, it'll go to Village of Northport.
Good.
How they respond, that's an internal thing.
Yeah.
But from the person, unless they need to meet face to face, which most times it's not required, it'd be handled, the person would be dealing with someone that they would call Northport, and their email would be to be.
Most land use permits are going all web-based, the state permits are all web-based. It's really the enforcement issues that get the face-to-face discussions. So.
But they may be zoning administrator and Village of Northport, so if you look at the website, they'd be listed just like everybody else services.
Even my zoning administrator lives in Gaylord now, my assessor lives in Gaylord, it's just big things change.
Okay, thank you. I agree that we should put out a vote on this for 2 days at least.
Yeah. And we could always wait or have a special meeting if but we just want you to know we support the proposal, just suggesting
very much.
hold off voting until we have this other issue resolved. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me out.
So Joan and I will keep in contact, because we should know very soon.
That's fine. Well, thanks so much again. It was nice seeing you all.
Thanks,
Okay.
Doug.
I hope to work with you.
We have several fine dineries in areas
This
we'd
is
like to.
3-4 nights a week. This is my job. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay. The next topic has been on the agenda the last several months also. Is also verification of survey work done by Mr. John Core. And Susan, you, last month said you would check and you did get a response, I think, is in your package. You want to discuss that or?
I know, it's pretty self-evident what my email said, but the guy I talked to was the president of the zoning society, whatever.
Professional surveyors.
He said, no careful surveyor would accept the work of another surveyor. That he would risk his own reputation by accepting the work of another surveyor if it wasn't filed and certified, which is the $1,200 that John Ford is asking us.
Yeah, and I did verify that with 2 other surveyors. One is the founding president of Blue Wall Surveying, and one is a retired gentleman. And they both gave me the same responses, that it's against their ethics standards and policies.
So I think if we ever want to do anything with this again, and who can say when or if we will, it's a small price to pay the $1,200 to John Ford. And so I move that we pay John Ford the remaining $1,200 that he is to prepare the certificate of survey and record it.
I second.
Moved by Susan, supported by Jane, to pay John Core the remaining $1,200 to file the certificate of survey. Any discussion?
I can't imagine what we would ever use this for, but it's not a lot of money, so I'm not gonna get all worked up about it. If we ever did do a replat or wanted to clarify anything, this would probably have to be all done over again by somebody else anyway, so I just don't see that it has any value at all. So I'm not gonna vote for it, but I don't really feel that strongly about it.
Anything else? Okay. Roll call vote, starting with Will.
No.
Laura.
No.
Hugh.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
And no,
So it doesn't pass.
does not pass.
Welcome sign, this is another follow-up from last month. As you know, the agreement with the Webb family expires next month. I did reach out to Mrs. Weber for extending. She is willing to extend the lease around 5 years. However, she's not in favor of a clause that would ban any political signs. She wants to have the right to put signs up on the property as she chooses, so she said that that would not be agreeable with her. So I did follow up with Mrs. Edwards, and she is agreeable to the 5-year term, as well as a clause with no political signs. And also she, her property does have an irrigation system, not where the sign would be located. But she said if the village would be willing to extend the irrigation system, she would cover the cost of the water. And Chris is here, and I believe you think if we extend it, it'd be a couple $100, Chris, for the irrigation system. And so Chris and I went and met with Mrs. Edwards last week on the location of the sign. Chris, you think it could be moved?
Yes, it could be moved, and, you know, it's going to be undertaking. But I think it'd be beneficial. Replacement, or we just discussed the general replacement, just south of Palmer Drive, very visible. This letter was very amenable to some tree trimming on that. And again, irrigation would be provided. She's on a well system, so she is sort of supportive of us tying into it. But again, like Chet said, we would have to pay for that connection. They'd be very beneficial. So the whole design of that, we'll have to take a look at it. We'd like to make it the footprint a little smaller, but yet vertically higher, a little more visible. Since I'm on that rant, the sign itself is definitely in need of being repeated.
Have you talked to Tom?
I have not talked to Tom yet. And we also had Bob Mill volunteer as a designer. That he said if Tom wasn't available or something, he would like to take it on.
So Tom has asked me every time the wreaths have gone, past 2 years, if it needs work, and that he would be happy to work on it. So I strongly suspect that he may be willing to, but I would definitely ask him first.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Did it.
The other thing is that during that time, and this is, I've emphasized it more than once, this is not just a day job. It's going to take some doing. I have to rent some equipment. During that period, do we want to have, as we're restructuring and reconstructing, do we want to have that sign then offline, so to speak, and have Tom refurbish it? Or do you want to put it in place as it is, remove it in the winter months? That's a decision.
My question was if we were going to do any repairs or painting, would that be done during the winter? Or, like you said, if we've got downtime here where it's going to be off?
Yeah, historically, we've always done it in the winter.
Okay.
Tom, we usually take it to a shop, and he has it for several months. But, you know, we're looking to press forward and have this done, obviously, soon. Got to make some arrangements.
Yeah, I would think it might depend on Tom's availability to do the work when it's down, but.
But also it would be bad timing for the busiest part of the season to have that sign down, just because it's like.
Yeah, so.
I guess the first question is, do you wish to move the sign?
Yeah, we should vote on that first.
And you do, we just received this, was it yesterday or today? I can't
It was
remember.
today.
Today, the contract back. It's a standard contract.
Approved by the village attorney?
He written by the village attorney.
Oh, okay.
And what would the rent be?
It's $1.
Yeah, I mean, the previous one was $1.
Yeah.
It's not in here, but you left it blank. but-
Miss Edwards is on too.
Oh.
But she
And so is-
hasn't had a chance to see this.
No. We just literally received this. So it says, if you wish, then I will contact Ms. Edwards and and just whoever to tell the decision.
Okay.
Let's approve it tentative on, my motion would be to approve this lease, signed lease agreement. Obviously, Mrs. Edwards would have final say depending on her agreement with
So
it.
your motion is to have the village manager negotiate the details of the agreement with.
Okay, sure. Why don't you make the motion? That was better.
But I think that's what we were getting at, is we'd
Yeah.
like to proceed, so
Yeah,
I will move that we ask the village manager to negotiate the details of the proposed agreement between the village of Northport and Sherry Edwards to relocate the Welcome to Northport sign.
second.
So just to clarify, you're approving it pending agreement with Mrs.
Yeah, because she has
So
a
that way you
final
don't come
draft.
back and approve it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So moved by Jane, supported by Will, for the lease agreement, on Sherry Edwards' property for the sign pending her approval.
So, yeah, the intention of my motion was to have Chet fill in all
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
yellow spaces
Okay.
and get Sherry's signature.
So, all in favor?
We have a discussion.
Oh, discussion,
Yeah.
yep, sorry.
My question is, when did the Weber contract expire?
That's what I was gonna say, I think it's August 1st.
August 1st.
Yeah,
Okay,
so you
what-
would have to be moved before that, right? But you could also move it and then take it down in the winter to refurbish it. Can that be done, I would think?
Yeah, because I would think this should probably insist upon that, so.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that it needs to, I mean, because otherwise there needs to be an agreement for while it's there. In between, I would think, I mean.
I don't speak on Chris, but we talked about that, and assuming you approve this, you can definitely have it moved by August 1st. It may not be completely done in use spots.
Yeah.
But at least off the property.
Off the property and, then to be restored, so it's, it's gonna cost us a little,
Grading.
grading and then again.
When would we move the landscaping, all the plants, or just?
So that's one thing I want to get, tomorrow we'll talk with Brad Price, our groundskeeper, is to see if we can remove everything coming up within the next, with the more part. Get things removed and healed in and talk about design and size. So again, I'd see the footprint smaller, a little more vertical, two-tier.
Cool.
So we got some ideas.
Cool.
We did not, but we're,
This discussion.
okay, so all in favor of approving the signed lease agreement with Sherry
I
Edwards?
think technically, since we're spending $1 a year, we have to do a roll call.
Yeah, good call. So roll call vote, starting with Will.
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
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 And yes.
All right, next topic, mill pond update. Chris and I thought we'd have not much of an update on you on this topic until last night, when I opened my email. And you have a copy of a correspondence from Robin Schmidt that was dated yesterday. I read last night, had some issues, couldn't quite understand what you were saying. I thought, well, Chris will, of course, know what this means.
Of course.
So I called Chris, asking him to explain to me, and he didn't understand it. So we thought, well, we'll call Dan Devon, because of course Dan will know what this means. We called Dan, and Dan said he has no idea what this means. So simple terms, as you know, we received violation notice back in April. We talked to Ms. Schmidt shortly after that. And we told her that we were going to enter into contract, and Mr. Devon would be working on a proposal to keep us in compliance and so forth. She was grateful to hear that, spoke highly of Mr. Devon, and then said they would withhold any violation until, I got the impression that they would withhold any violation until the report came in. Mr. Devon, you approved the contract. He sent us an initial report that we sent to Ms. Schmidt, and she received it. Part of it, and helping out here, Dan suggested we get a permit to make sure there's no potential issues down the road due to the work that he's doing. And so Chris and I said, sure, Dan, go ahead and apply for the permit, so do the work. And then we got this email saying that
There's a
The
violation.
permit can't be issued because it's a violation, but it's almost a catch
It's a
22.
pending violation, so, yeah, it is, it's a catch 22. So again, talking with Dan, he was a little mumbled on the whole thing.
He was very puzzled also, so he says he has reached out, and we have not heard from him since this morning, to Ms. Schmidt to get clarification on what does this actually mean.
And really all we're looking at, that application was to do the repairs that were recommended by GEI, by Dan. Nothing beyond that. But, again, I don't want to make a move at this point without having approval. So we're balls in their court, so to speak.
My understanding is that, so Dan has done everything he's gonna do. He's done his inspections. You applied to make the repairs that were mentioned by everybody, the sort
His
of
recommendations.
basic repairs. Okay, so Dan is not affected by this letter in any way, right?
Oh,
No, I don't think so at all.
Okay, and do we know when we're expecting a final report from Dan?
I thought we would be seeing something by the end of June, but here we are in July. So
Okay,
hopefully by mid-July, and that's,
okay.
Well, I believe in the first part of June, I think last time, I could be off by a week or so, he said 4 to 6 weeks, so
oh,
if
okay.
he did, that'd still be in
Yes,
that
it's,
time frame.
Okay.
I think we talked to him right after Memorial Day.
Yeah, I can,
But anyway, so I think we're close to that time. And he said he would get back to us on this letter, and so we can ask him. And then give you an update.
he would kind of query them back to Rob and Schmidt and to see where they're at timeline wise. Because we want to do the repairs while it's warm and make sure we get it right.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on the Milltown Dam? All right, we'll move to committee reports. First up is Employee Relations Committee. So you have my report in there. If anybody has any questions about that. There is we do have the office assistant job description. The only addition from last month that you saw was under major duties, 3.1, the last sentence, prepare all meeting packets in advance, was added. Other than that, everything is the same.
That was intended to include planning commission where we said all meeting packets.
Yes.
So that could be done during the daytime and won't worry about the minutes. I know that we have a couple of planning commissioners listening in.
So are we ready to post this job?
The council's never approved it officially, so. Yes, we could post it very quickly, having approved the council.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because we need this.
Yes.
So the sooner it's in place, the better.
Yes, I move that we approve the office assistant position description as amended, and ask that it be posted with all due haste. I second.
Moved by James, supported by Susan, to approve the office assistant job position description. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So Joanna will make this a priority. To get that out there, which is awesome.
There
Not gonna argue.
No, he's smiling.
is nothing in the packet, but it was brought up about a no smoking policy for village employees on village grounds or campuses. That's how the county describes it, excluding parks. That was one of the things that was in the county ordinance. It doesn't include the parks, just the work campuses, I guess. So again, we don't have anything here on paper, but it's just.
Does anybody smoke?
If I may, our personnel policy, Chet and I looked at it together, it does address that. So
Okay.
for those departments that may have pending concerns about smoking,
Okay.
we can certainly hand out our personnel policy,
Okay.
which does prohibit smoking.
At any village property. So if you're a worker at the marina or at the park, you still can.
Any of our facilities.
And vehicles, I hope, too.
Yes.
Yeah, any county or any village property. So
Yeah.
And none of our
Yes,
staff,
yes,
Yeah.
none of the staff
That's what this would
in our
apply
buildings
to.
are all posted just because of safety reasons.
sure.
So, as you know, Bill had a concern about potential.
Well, it came up in employee relations that there was some vaping going on in village bathrooms by
Employees of the marina.
employees of the marina, so.
But the policy does address that for employees, and they are employees, so it is covered.
I guess around our thought is that if you're smoking, you could be on fire.
Unless you're on the beach. Okay.
You may want to do that.
Finance? Jane?
Yeah, we have worked on a couple policies that show up in tonight's packet. And we've discussed most of the items that were covered in our last meeting. I'll point out that we did agree that we'll do a budget review on a monthly basis to see if there are areas where we're overspending or where we may have to consider budget amendments. And Joni, in her written report, reflected areas where we will need to make amendments, but staying on top of it and keeping the full council informed as we move along, rather than stringing all the budget amendments at one time when we're trying to approve the budget and hold a public hearing.
Anything else for Jane? Any questions? No? Okay. Infrastructure?
We didn't meet yet, we're looking to reschedule, so there's some.
Okay. H2. Waterfront?
Well, the fun part about having Bill and the staff go first is there isn't much to talk about. The parking lot update, Chris gave us a pretty good update on that. How'd your punch list go?
Well, we've got more to cover, and as I put in the report, and I don't want to surprise Bill on that, is I just got the call this afternoon, as we're wrapping this up, about, we're looking at, this is the 18th, July 13th, for Mullen to come back to put in, install parking bumpers along that south sidewalk, keep people from driving on it. And they've got a few things, areas of the paving that we want to try to, gonna reheat and mold that. We've got a couple what we call bird baths in the business, some puddle areas. They feel pretty confident they can get those rolled out. So the lights along the walkway are working. What you may see tonight, but pretty neat. So still waiting on the lighting to come, the big upper street lights. Should be hearing something next week on that too. So, like all in all, I've heard nothing but positive response on that. Even the guy that drove over the curb in the rocks. But, yeah, fix them all.
All right, thank you. Next up, Parks and Trails. My report is in there. Anybody has any questions?
Can we mention that we did indeed receive a grant from the, oh, it's there.
It's there.
There it is.
So we
Be sure to
did,
see this piece of news.
just got the email today that the village was awarded a 2% grant in the amount of $9,260.72 to replace and upgrade existing play structures, as outlined in our 2% application. So some more money towards the Bayfront playground equipment.
We're getting to a point where charitable contributions, public donations may fill the gap.
Yeah, I did receive, there was, the Grand Traverse Community Foundation, Regional Foundation has an application process that ends the 14th, and I started filling that out today. So they said, ask for what you need. So I'll be asking for the remaining of the project, and we'll see where that goes. But I do want to really explore the capital campaign, and try to get that going in the next month.
Chris, would that be for that antiquated climber that we discussed?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
It says a letter in response to Mr. Richards' request has been drafted and mailed. Can we get copied on that?
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
want to see what.
Sure.
Because we, yeah, I mean, just curious what your.
Yeah, I'll almost include it in the packet tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, we don't have to have a debate on, but, you know, bikes and dogs, yeah, okay, let's move on.
Okay, I'll say I could read it for you.
No, I want to see, let's not waste time.
No,
Okay,
the one thing I think we need to, I'll talk with Bill about is, if those buoys are only in 2.5 feet of water, they might want to be moved out a little further.
Yeah, and that's up to the discretion of the harbor master. He could just do that. We don't have to tell him to do that. And in the past, I have loaned him a little boat to do it.
We have a boat.
You do have a boat, okay, so,
Yeah, we've got the.
okay, so that's not something we need to vote on or.
No, I'm not saying it. Just-
Yeah, the rest of it is, you know, whatever.
How would we enforce the smoking?
So that was what came up in our discussion, is that we would need to create ordinances around these rules, which would then be enforceable by a civil infraction, which would lead to people calling the police on someone for smoking in the park. And we thought that might not be the best use of community resources. And we also, there are people that use the parks that smoke that we do not want to create a situation where they feel like people can be harassing them out of the park.
Okay.
Sticky wicket.
Okay. Anything else for parks? Okay, next up, planning commission.
Yeah, we don't have minutes provided, but Joni and I spoke and we included the planning commission work summary of all the various projects that are underway. I think for those of you who are not aware, at our last planning commission meeting, our two newest members stepped up and we elected Gretchen French, president, and Virginia Foley, secretary of the planning commission. And they assumed responsibility and will be conducting the meeting in almost 2 weeks.
And if I might add also, I did speak with Gretchen French and Virginia Foley, and they are working on the current meeting minutes. They're waiting for some more details from me. So I'll get those.
Okay. Next up is the NLTUA report. I actually gave you something. We had a long meeting, 3 hours, and I tried to condense it down to just the bullet points. We did welcome 3 new members: Township Supervisor Mike McMillan, Will Harper, trustee, and Rick Cross. Any questions?
We do have the agenda item coming up, so that's the main gist for the council on what happened that day.
Okay. Move on to discussion, potential action, investment policy and depositor designation.
I think we've spoken about this before, but the current document in the village is a policy that includes a resolution designating the approved depositories. And the finance committee is separating the policy from the resolution to make administration a little easier. This clearly gives authority to both the clerk and the treasurer to handle deposits or investments, which the council may do by adopting the policy. It's in essence what we have been doing, and much of the language is taken directly from statute. So.
Do we vote on this tonight, or?
We can, it's been discussed at our last meeting. I
In finance,
what we covered
here or?
at finance and.
Yeah, in finance a bunch of
Yeah.
times.
I'm not against this at all, let's just do it.
I would guess both of you are comfortable with this.
It's our current practice, so, yeah.
So the main difference is just separating out the resolution from the policy.
Do you want a motion?
Sure.
I will move that we adopt the revised Village of Northport investment policy and depositor designation.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Will, supported by Laura, to adopt the Village of Northport investment policy and depositor designation. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, passes. Next up, application fee and escrow policy.
Yeah, this is another one that came out of Finance Committee, really nudged along by the Planning Commission when we were establishing the fee schedule, and asked for input. The township has this type of a policy that notifies applicants in writing that for some of the more complex or maybe a commercial site plan review, that there needs to be money paid upfront because there are expenses incurred by the Planning Commission and the zoning administrator in the notification, the review of the materials. So we're asking for the policy to be adopted so that it can be shared as part of an application process. This is taken almost verbatim from what Limbaugh Township is currently doing successfully.
And it would apply for PUDs, special use,
Yeah.
things like that, where we know that they're, and right now the fees, we did raise them a bit, but it's still could potentially not capture it all, just as that proposal from Mansfield outlined. I mean, it can, to review all of those things, can add lots. I mean, just even having to involve our village attorney to look at things sometimes, depending on what the proposal is, right there, you're over what your fee is, not even counting the public notifications and the ZA's time.
So,
Yeah, it seems like common sense.
the one area that's left highlighted in blue is the council, would the council like to involve the village manager in administering the policy? Do you feel that it should be a zoning administrator, planning commission decision, and that we will strike one or leave both, determining that the fees won't cover the costs and asking for additional funding in escrow?
Well, I have a question on that because it says village manager or planning commission, or are you saying or zoning administrator?
The zoning administrator, I think, is definitely
It's
going to be
definitely
included.
there.
It's,
Okay.
my personal opinion was that the planning commission shouldn't be included,
Because
only because they don't know
the.
the costs.
Well,
They
also
are the
don't
ones
need
doing
often
any of
enough,
the
and people
research,
need to
yeah.
move quickly.
And it takes some of the politics out of
Yeah.
it. Put a lot of pressure on
Okay,
planning commission members. Barbara says take out the planning commission,
then,
do it the manager and
Yeah.
administrator.
Johnny?
Yeah, I was just thinking that, there are times where I'm issuing, collecting the fees for a water tap or something of that nature. And I could see where, I guess it could be communicated to the village manager, what's gonna be needed. But right now, that role, according to the ordinance, is the clerk's job to collect those revenue, tap-in fee. So it's just a thought.
So you would eliminate the village manager also?
No, maybe just, I was just thinking
It's an
and the
and/or.
clerk.
It's and or.
And clerk, because the
Right.
separation there.
So instead of village manager, insert clerk.
Well, I would say in addition to.
So
and village manager and or clerk.
Sure.
So what if there's, I'm just playing devil's advocate. under your new proposed structure, the clerk reports to the village manager. If the village manager says yes or no, and the clerk has different opinion.
That would get complicated.
Yeah, if he's and or, in theory, you could create a conflict.
Yeah, I think, okay, I see that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if I feel like having the village manager on there is a good idea, just because the ZA may not be, may need additional support in communicating with all these different people, depending on what the application is. But I do think that the clerk can report to the village manager and they can report that information also.
That's fine. I just see a situation where the clerk would have to communicate, but that's just the structure, so, yeah.
But you are talking about all the employees reporting to the village manager. And so you want that person involved. And it is a finance, and if he or she is not doing the job, it'll be up to the council, but I think we want the village manager involved.
Yep.
Okay,
And take the planning commission out of it.
Yeah, I don't think the planning commission should be on there.
So strike the planning commission, zoning administrator, and/or village manager.
I have a question, and this is based on ignorance, obviously, but is it allowed that the fees might surpass the costs? And can we legally have fees that surpass the cost?
it's in an escrow account, so we're not able to spend it, and any remaining funds would be
back.
returned.
Oh, no, I'm not thinking of that. I'm thinking about villages that require, say, $500 to register a short-term rental.
That was struck down by the courts. The fees have to be reflective of the actual cost. Acme Township lost on that.
And that's what this would
What
be doing.
township was it?
Acme.
Yeah, I mean, this is based on estimated costs.
Okay.
It's not an arbitrary figure that everybody has to put up. It's when, in the judgment of the zoning administrator, it's going to cost more for us to do the review than the amount of the application fee, and we ask for additional funds.
Well, and the purpose, like the ones that it's going to apply to are going to be notated on the fee schedule, if this is approved, is my understanding. And also the purpose of it being part of the policy and something you pay up front is just because obviously if you get into it and you're in your fourth meeting and now you need to hire an engineer to look at something or whatever, if you don't have their money already and they decide that they're mad because you didn't approve it, you don't want to be stuck in a situation where now the village has to pay the $3,000 engineer bill or whatever, and there's no way for you to recoup it without taking them to court, which is not ideal either. It's like sort of preemptive so that we can be sure the costs are going to be covered, and then if it doesn't need it or you don't use it, they get it back.
And this is standard practice.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of
This is
places
not
that do
radical.
this.
And most contractors probably are expecting.
Yes.
Who is the escrow agent in this situation? Who's
The village treasurer deposits in an escrow account.
So you just go set up an escrow account in a bank, and they become the escrow agent?
We would do it as a restricted fund through ours, because it could have a zero balance, so that wouldn't be a good thing. So we would set up we would just set up a restricted fund.
For escrow to work, there has to be a
Third party?
Yeah, third party, unbiased or unaffiliated party. You have to have an arbiter. You have to have an agent that's going to decide whether the terms of the contract have been fulfilled or not.
So why don't we table
if we are our own
figure
escrow
out the
agent, it's not
banking.
really escrow, it's a deposit. It's not escrow.
So, okay, then I suggest we table this until further investigation and if needs change.
Other than that, I think
Joni can
it's a
figure
great
it out.
policy, just,
The concept makes sense. We just get clear clarification on that issue.
yeah, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I remember from.
Okay. There may be different types of escrow accounts.
Yeah.
Because I know at the county, we require escrow accounts, so we never went through it. But I think there's different legal definitions of escrow. We can check into that.
It sounds like a quote, talking about the deposit and not escrow.
Resolve.
Next item is social district. The president of the Chamber of Commerce tonight, Daniel Connell, had a meeting with Kevin and Amy Murphy last month to address some of their concerns that they raised here that Kevin brought to the council. I think everybody walked away from that meeting on good terms and understanding of what we're really trying to do with the social district. One of the things that was sort of a question and was about public consumption on public property, like the village property. And there is a MLCC 248 dot something or else that says that it is legal for the public to consume alcohol on public parks, places of amusement, and public parking lots. Now, municipalities do have the option to restrict that, but one thing we're looking into would be if we included the park in the social district where we need to make it a common area. If alcohol can already be consumed there. So you could buy a 6-pack of beer, walk it down to the park and drink it. Would it be the same for somebody to buy the cup from Fingers Crossed and do that without having to, because once you create a common area, then outside alcohol cannot be brought in. It can only be stuff that's bought from a business in the social district. And we don't want to restrict Friday night music in the park and people having their, their fun down there. So we're still working through the process. I know the community has felt maybe we're trying to rush it. We're just trying to do it as quick as possible with what we have and how it comes. So we'll hope to have an updated maintenance plan at next month's meeting. July's busy for everybody. And at that time, it'll be up to the council to either approve the maintenance plan for the application or not. And so if there's not support for it, I'm not here to push it on the community. If you hear from constituents that it's not something you want or they want, the vote will reflect that. So
Would we get an actual map of where the district is?
we would, yeah, and that would be the big thing that is involved with the application is you have to identify the social district boundaries and then the common areas. And so what we would be looking at is just doing the common areas as the sidewalks. Again, not to restrict the consumption in our public parks where it is legally already allowed. That's all I have on that. If there are any questions? Short-term rental task force.
Shall I cover this?
Yeah.
I don't know how it fell to me, I don't remember, but it fell to me to write a document, which I did. Some of this is copied from a proposal that was approved a few years ago in the Village of Empire. They created a task force. I added a couple more members to it, et cetera, et cetera. Some of it is taken from the document Kathy Wessel prepared, much of it. And this is it. It's got a lot of details that can be debated or not. It requires the task force to report within 6 months with recommendations to do nothing, which is what Empire did. They decided to do nothing after their task force studied the issue. But that was a couple years ago. So I did speak with them or to enact various policies or to propose various policy options. So I don't know. I think it would fall to Chris were the chair to fill these seats.
So would Chris be the one village council member, or you would be the chair and then there would be an additional council member?
My own thought is that we probably should have one of the citizens chair rather than the village president, so that it actually is an advisory committee.
That makes sense.
Another thing that I've had the public ask me about this potential is, what do we do about village council or planning commissioner members who also own STRs or long-term renters and are not just homeowners? Like, because if that their concern is that if there are people lots that have STRs, or if there's some that have, that could change the opinions of the task force just because of personal bias, even if you're not trying to be. And I don't know what the solution would be. That's something that people have asked me. The other thing that I have concern with is I'm not sure it's necessary to have, it's not like I want it to take forever, but I also think that, reviewing and looking at this, I don't know that it's gonna be in 6 months. I mean, I don't know, like you could say maybe report monthly on the progress, but I don't know that you need to put in the time frame of when it's supposed to be completed and that it's only 6 months. I don't want it to take a long time. It's not that we don't want to address it, but I also don't feel like, I don't know that that's fair to say, be sure that you do this quickly though, because then that's putting a lot of pressure on everybody.
I figured the task force would come to the council after 4 months and say, can we have an extra 4 months?
Well, that's part of it to me, like, that's why I don't know if we need to say, like, in as timely a manner as possible. I don't know, like.
Well, they'll say the aim. It doesn't say-
That's true.
Sometimes if you don't have a deadline, it just will flounder. So you could keep it, it's always can be modified, but it says the aim is
Okay.
6 months.
Any other discussion on it?
Just make sure you can only have 3 members from this board on there, or violate OMA. And same with the planning commission. How many planning commission people are 7?
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
only,
and we're only one is
It's intended to be a village council.
right, well, you got Chris and 1, so that's 2.
well, if,
And then if like I was the business owner, that would be 3.
But you can't do that. I don't think that, to me, that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be that
Okay, so you're
my
saying it's
understanding from
exclusive.
planning is that the intention was to involve the public in a
So,
bigger way from the very
Yes.
beginning.
so 1
And
means
so-
1 and not 2.
Mhm.
So, okay, so that's,
Right.
Yeah,
well, then
you
you gotta
can-
write, you need to write that a little more clearly, because that's, a legal interpretation would be 1 is the minimum, there is no maximum, so.
Okay. Another potential concern is if you mandate that the village president is the chairman, it could be viewed as this is a village initiative, and therefore you have to abide by the meetings and have open public. I'm not sure what your goal is, this is just a task force. You gotta be careful what you do bring to the ballot, so open meeting violation.
So who would we choose, who would be how would the chairman be chosen of this?
Voted upon by the members, or is it addressed at, or I could be appointed by the,
selected by the members of the task force.
yeah.
Yeah,
But Chris would name the members of the task force, but not
He
chair.
has to nominate.
I have to nominate them after
I
they.
got it.
So will this be an official committee of the village council? Because there's different guidelines depending on the answer. Or is this just a
How loose can we be?
short-term?
No, you can do it ad hoc,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be official, but, because we're allowed to make ad hoc committees.
Yeah.
But my question to everybody here is that, shouldn't we really be, and I know the planning commission is really busy, but, my personal solution to this is a zoning overlay. And it would be part of the zoning ordinance, is that you take the map of the village and then you take a yellow,
That's the
color
intent
thing,
though
put
of
it
the task
over it.
force, to evaluate the different options. That's the whole point in trying
Right,
to
but
involve the
you know-
public so that they are part of that conversation. And, we're sure that we're reflecting what the actual people in the community are looking for.
That makes sense, because it gives them a little bit more of a say in the discussion,
Yeah,
rather than just a public comment.
Yeah, I can't do it.
You chair.
Yeah, I could, if I was the king, I could solve this in a day, but going through that process is not for me.
Okay, so does this need some revision before we?
I think so.
So again,
So we
table,
need language that it will be composed of, what was the language?
no more than 1, correct? Is that what you're saying, Will?
Yeah, or
Or
only 1.
only 1.
And I feel like I'm the same thing, because I don't really want it to be that just if this is possible, I'm not even sure because I don't know who has what, but like, I wouldn't want the village council member and the planning commissioner member to also own STRs. And then there's actually 3 of those represented,
Right,
you know,
right,
so
yeah, so I
mean-
like that, it will be composed of only one of of each of the following.
Right, so if you do have,
Exclusively.
yeah, so if you do have an
Use the word
STR, you
exclusively.
have a long-term renter, or you are a long-term, I mean, like, obviously, if, to me, you just want to be one homeowner.
What you're trying to say is you can't wear 2 hats. You can't be a business owner and a council member. You can't be a short-term rental landlord.
Which then means there are some council members and planning commissioners who can't
Right, that's
do
fine.
one or the other, and I think that's fine.
That's
Like, they
fine,
can't do it, they can't be on it, but I think that that's good, because that's,
Well,
to me, what we're trying to
One Northport
achieve.
village homeowner who does not rent out space. Well, so the village council person either rents out space or doesn't rent out space, or is a long-term renter or owns, and so that disqualifies everyone on the council.
Yeah, I know, we'd have to,
So
that one
Oh, I see.
position, that one position is the one that is gonna be the conflict for that. Because to me, I think that's what would be best, is if the planning commission member and the village council member is just a homeowner. Not a renter,
yeah,
not a business,
that is one of
I mean,
those.
that's me though, but I don't know how you would rephrase it, like,
Yeah, I think this is gonna take a rewrite, and we're
Okay, where did you want the word exclusively, or what did you want?
you're the wordsmith, I'm gonna leave it up to you, but you know what we're trying to do, and I bet you can do it.
Okay,
well,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Maybe, what if we put this, is this in a Google Doc? Where it could be shared and people could, you know,
Yeah, I
read
can
it, and
do
make
that.
some edits,
I don't know
or,
where it is at the moment, but I'll find it.
yeah, we'll table this until
Okay.
next month. Okay, solar parklet?
Yeah, Joni was approached by the township. First, some background, people may remember early in COVID, the village received a donated solar parklet charging station. It's been sitting near the driving range at the trailhead, out of sight, out of mind. The township was pricing having a structure at the dog park. And we were contacted by the township asking if that would be something that we would agree to relocate. And said, I can't imagine anyone's going to say no, but it is village property and we need to publicly discuss relocating it to the township. They will maintain it, and volunteers from Leelanau Energy will help with any questions about the solar, the battery display.
Let's just donate it to the township, so not just relocate it, let's just give it to them. So we don't have any, then they'll be responsible for, the dog people will paint it, and I bet you we'll do something really nice with it, and it's brilliant. I think it's great. Let's just do that.
So donate it to you, think donate it to the
Donate it to the township
rather
and
than-
let them move it.
And
We can help if Chris wants to, but yeah, we're gonna have to help, they can't do it
they,
themselves.
well, they have someone who had, Ian Dawkins.
Yeah, he's
They
good,
get a trailer and that's how it got in there.
cool.
It's in there now? No.
That's how it got where it is. at
Oh.
8th Street.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we donate the solar parklet to Leelanau Township to be their property and their responsibility. Can I get some support on that?
Second.
yeah.
Moved by Will, supported by Jane, to donate the solar parklet located at the end of 8th Street to the township to be used in the dog park.
Where do they want to put it?
Any discussion?
I don't know.
See, that's their.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious because,
Their fences.
you know, right away well,
They're probably gonna
I'm a
have
guy.
to-
I'm just worried about if it's set outside that fence along Warren Street.
Oh, I think the
Just
So,
to get it in.
yeah, because
I'm hoping.
a couple of people asked me about, what do we do there? And I'm like, that's township property. Because they're looking for shade for the dogs and the people. They were asking about trees, or can they put up a tent or something like that, but
A great compromise.
yeah, it's not getting
Worry
much
about
use
it
at the end of
being-
8th Street. So,
Yeah.
okay, so,
It's got some valuable solar panels on it. I mean, it'll finally get used.
and it's
So-
got a charging station so people can
Yeah,
charge their cell
They
phone.
can charge their cell phones while they
Yeah.
throw the ball for their dog.
And it's, the Luna Energy guys may offer to upgrade the batteries so people can actually charge computers.
Yeah,
and stuff
cool.
too.
Cool. All right, so,
All in favor?
aye.
Excellent.
I probably should have.
Yeah. Okay, next up is NLTUA requests.
Yeah, it's Nancy.
Oh.
Oh, pardon me, you're right. Pardon me, I'm sorry.
Okay, so at our last NLTUA meeting, it came up that the village did approve allowing the NLTUA to use up to $350,000, as it's noted here in the piece of paper you have. And so it's come to the NLTUA's attention that there is potentially additional funding that may be utilized for a forced main cleaning here that was noted in the NLTUA report. And NLTUA would be asking the village to defer payments on the money that was already loaned, because we're planning on paying it back at, was it $28,000? Is it in there?
We have a payment schedule on the $150,000, yeah, of 28 a year. We really just were looking to defer payments at this time until we can, get above that threshold of not going in arrears before we do our quarterly billing. I think Trustee Harper, you brought up the fact that money was secured for a specific project.
Right, but yeah, I now see the wisdom of this, and
Yeah.
well, I did a total 180 in the meeting, you guys should have seen it, it's great. So, anyway, no, the NLTUA is looking at a pretty critical $100,000 pipe flushing project that kind of just, probably we should have anticipated, or somebody should have, but all of a sudden it's here, and it's actually overdue, and without doing it, we're looking at a critical failure possibly. So this is just another, and they don't have the money. The NLTUA is cash broke, pretty much, like 36,000 before, I don't know, with the billing, it's gonna come out, but they don't have the money to do this, so basically, we want us to extend the credit line to pay for this. Not really extend the credit line, just defer the payments. It wouldn't be any additional, it's just, we wouldn't demand the money right away. That's what we're asking for, and so that's pretty much what this says.
What was the final for North Shore?
150.
150?
Yeah. So that was the good news. The bad news is we got hit with this new thing.
Yeah.
And we really don't have a approximate cost on the,
I thought they said about 100,000.
around 100.
Yeah.
I mean, give or take 10%.
Yeah.
125.
125, okay.
So, a bit more, but I think I think it'll be a good move on your part.
Yeah.
I think if we don't, I mean,
Yeah, we're asking for it.
you're looking at like bigger costs
Yeah.
that then have to be figured out how to pay for that. I mean, like it doesn't make sense to say no and then more problems arise that cost more than it would have to just do this and be preemptive, at least to some degree, yeah.
That's the sad thing, is we really don't have much choice.
We kind of don't right now, but there is, I felt like that 3-hour meeting, a lot got done. And there's a lot of consensus on where to go from here. We're definitely going to do a rate study. We are very likely going to hire a person to find grants and to write grants for us. We are looking at restructuring possibly fee payments as a possibility down the road. I see a lot of light on the horizon for the NLTUA. I came out of that meeting feeling really good about it. And that's a big thing for me, because it's been a dark subject for me for a long time. So we need a motion. Can I do this? Because I'm on both boards. Let's have somebody else do it. We need somebody to move.
Yeah, well,
Make this one.
if this is adequate language, I move that we authorize up to $350,000 of funds available to the NLTUA as a loan at an interest rate of 2% to be paid in full by 2028 for this critical sewer main project with a repayment schedule to be determined.
I'll support that.
Moved by Jane, supported by Hugh. Any further discussion? And
There's no way this will exceed the 350, correct?
I mean, because we don't have any.
I know.
It
shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Okay.
yeah, and we'll get an updated,
Yeah.
project proposal from Jacobs.
They seemed,
And that will-
yeah, it seemed like it was gonna be not all,
So,
Spirit of
yeah,
Avalon. Yes.
all right. So we need a roll call vote for this because we're passing the money? Yeah, okay.
It was moved by Jane. Who supported it? I'm sorry?
You.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so roll call starting with Susan.
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Will,
yes.
and yes. Okay. Next up, we have the resignation of Nancy Peterson. We read the letter at the beginning, and so
I would move that with deepest regret, we accept the resignation of trustee Peterson.
Support.
moved by Jane, supported by Hugh to accept the resignation of Nancy Peterson with our deepest regrets. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote, starting with Will.
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Hugh,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
or Nancy, Susan. I'm thinking of Nancy, and yes.
And I think we should have, as a whole, thank her for what she did.
Absolutely.
And
She stepped up and was a trooper.
Mhm.
yeah, she was a great addition to this board.
Okay, next up is.
Do you want to talk about the process to fill the vacancy?
Yeah, that was fine. Should be.
Yeah, so we should be taking letters of application or interest up to a certain date. Does anybody have any couple weeks?
Wait, what?
Is there, might it make any sense to reach out to the people who applied when Nancy did and see if they?
Oh,
Yeah, to fill her
Actively.
vacancy.
yeah, I mean, where you could say that everything's a fresh game. I mean, we'll let it be known. I don't think we need to post it in the paper, do we need to?
Did we run it last time?
We did not. I think it.
Can put it on the website.
Yeah.
Word of mouth.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, it has to be a village resident, so like paying for an ad in the enterprise is way expanding, way overreach.
Sign at the post
So let's
office.
just
So we can
work on
post it at the
Yeah,
post
let's
office
post it.
here.
I'll do the Facebook
Right.
thing.
Can we post it anywhere else in town? I mean,
Anywhere.
would Tom's be okay?
Sure.
I mean, just somewhere like point of interest where people are coming and going all the time.
So you're gonna put it on
I'll put it on
neighbors,
my page, yeah.
and then who's gonna do the poster?
Of course you are.
You mean posted on the webpage?
Well, it's just a little notice.
Just-
Oh, I probably have something from the
Yeah.
last time, so
Yeah.
we can
Okay,
get it
if you
together.
could do that, Joan, that'd be great.
So deadline date?
Let's set it for like the 20-something of July.
Yeah.
And that way we have some time to
somebody next
review the
meeting.
applications and we can
Yeah.
vote on somebody in our August meeting.
And then Chris, maybe you can reach out or chat to the previous people who
Oh, I will too.
you will.
Yeah, Cheryl and who
Cheryl,
else was?
I talk to her all the time.
I can't remember who the other
I
person.
believe your next meeting is August 3rd.
Yeah,
So if you do it
10 days before that.
if you do it like the 24th,
Okay.
that's actually 10 days.
Yeah.
July
Okay.
24th.
So the deadline will be July 24th for any letters of interest in the open village council seat. Okay. All right. Next up is Recommended closed session to review the manager applications.
Yeah, as well, by Michigan Open Meetings Act, I would recommend the council go into closed session to review the applications for the village manager position. And go into closed session does require a roll call vote.
Yeah, will we go into
All discussion,
closed
so
session?
any questions, regarding DPW, and I'll step out. See you along.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Pardon me? Oh, it's okay, I'm gonna go over that in a second. You know,
I move that we go into closed session to consider village manager applications.
support.
All right, moved by Susan, supported by Jane, to go into closed session to review the village manager applications. Roll call vote, starting with Will.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
You.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
And yes.
Just like to let the public know, we'll put them in a waiting room and bring them back when completed. Okay.
So yeah, we will put all the public who are in Zoom attendance into a waiting room. And when we are finished with our closed session, we will bring you back in for our remainder of the meeting.
Doesn't she use the stairs take minutes?
She's going to the other computer.
Okay.
So she's, yes, she has.
Okay.
And
I think she was thinking it was easier to do the waiting room.
She's putting people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to review, last week I sent you at 4:30 or so, the end of the day, the three applicants.
We're not muted yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We could just unplug the mic. Oh, that she couldn't hear. Yeah, never mind.
They're going into the waiting room.
Oh,
Wait a minute, because there's
yeah.
quite a few people.
Oh, I thought you did that.
Select all.
So I would move that we return from our closed session to conclude the agenda.
A second.
Moved by Jane, supported by Laura, to go back into open session to finish the agenda.
Can we get rid of it?
All in favor?
Yeah.
Do I need a roll call vote to come up?
Yeah.
Okay, so roll call vote starting with Susan.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
And yes.
And I move that we authorize the village manager to contact the applicants and schedule interviews with them on the days of July 17th and July 19th at 10 and 11 on each of those days.
Sorry.
Moved by Susan, supported by Will, to have the village manager contact the applicants and schedule interviews. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, next up, payment of the bills.
I move that we pay the bills in the amount of $85,320.66 as soon as funds become available.
Second.
Moved by Will, supported by James, to pay the bills in the amount of $85,320.66. Discussion? Okay, roll call starting with Will.
Yes.
Laura.
Yes.
Hugh.
Yes.
Jane.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
And yes. Those are paid. All right, that brings us to our second public comment. Again, public comment is 5 minutes, and if you'd like to be recognized, go ahead and unmute yourself. Since we have none in person.
Barbara Weber.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Hello?
Go ahead, Barbara.
I'm requesting that Ross answer my attorney regarding the sign removal. That's one. Two, that Chris notify me when he completes the work per our contract, so we can look and make sure that the area has been restored. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no takers, we'll move on to council comment. Anyone have?
I do, because this came to my attention too late to add to the agenda. The planning commission has been collecting bottles and cans to raise money for tree planting. Bob Newell has been at the recycling center 3 times a day picking up, and the condition of the recycling center with junk being dropped off is something that I wonder if we could speak to the township. I know our DPW is in there working. The Lions Club tries to clean up the site. But Bob had a discussion with the employee from the recycling service that in one of the other townships that they serve, they did install a camera and issue citations to people. And is it something that we would consider with the township to install a security camera and see if we can actually, who monitors?
Send the tower to the federal.
But it's turned into a bit of a dump, it sounds like.
Yeah, the week before the 4th of July, there were, there was drywall and building material put into the recycling bins. There were things left on the ground behind, and it was bad enough that it really bothered Bob.
It's actually stacked on top of the bins 2 to 3 feet high.
Yeah, the bins were completely full, and people were stacking and setting things aside. So we just turned around and went elsewhere, but some people I guess didn't do that.
Like the opposite of recycling.
Yeah.
So, whatever recourse we have, I encourage us to take whatever measures we can to monitor the site, and if we're able to identify offenders.
Okay.
You know, I appreciate what Bob Newell is doing. That's an extraordinary commitment, but it's still not enough for all the cans people have. And we had more cans that could ever fit in 2 bins.
You don't have to take them to that though. I mean,
I know. I was just
so-
saying that I mean, he's gathering a lot of cans. We could do 2 more cans and maybe find another volunteer.
He wants more 50-gallon drums, so if you, I mean,
Okay.
I'm the one who donated the ones that he has,
Oh,
and I'm
great.
working on getting him some more if we can.
Right.
But if anybody else has leads or ways to get more of them, he would very much like to
That's great.
have more cans. So,
That would be
collection,
That would be
50-gallon
great
drums.
that would be
We have
great
one
on
more
like
already, and we're
coordinators.
looking to get a few more for him, but.
And I thought maybe high school kids, maybe it could be a project for kids in school to help.
I mean, I
out
know
with
they
that.
did during COVID, but they couldn't keep up either. Like, I mean, that was this, I mean, I told him that from the beginning, is that it was really great, but I knew that it was probably gonna be more, but he's very eager, and I mean, it's really great what he's doing.
It is,
So,
I agree.
yeah. But I have an additional.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the things I wanted to see, that I've asked before, but I really think that we would benefit from additional microphones. It is very hard to hear everyone speak when you're watching it on Zoom, and I've experienced that for a long time. I just think that the one microphone in the middle isn't great, and I think that Kent was gonna look at it or something, and I still would really love to see if we could get like maybe 3 microphones or
The
something.
township just has 3 of those.
Township has 3 and it works good.
It works, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think you just put a splitter in, I don't think we even need 10, it's just like,
A splitter and
2 more of those, hockey pucks, yeah.
And then so I think that would be great and would love to see. I don't know what needs to happen for that to happen, because I think everybody wants it. It's just, we haven't gotten it done. But then the other thing is that I want to see if we can revisit the storage of our Zoom meetings and that to see if we can get a YouTube page or if there's somewhere else so that we can be sure that they aren't, because there's lots now that are only available if you come in, which is fine, but that's not very accessible for the public if you're, I just think it's less work on the staff if they're just there and nobody has to do anything else ever again. They're just there. So, that's it. Thank
We
you.
could create a YouTube page. It's pretty simple.
Well, I know the county has that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
so,
and
So it's Judge Eisen's.
I can, well, we can talk to someone that did it at the county, and it's not complicated.
I just think
People
that
can
that's
go- And
easier.
it's stored by YouTube, so
Yeah,
anybody can go at any time and look at the meetings.
I know I voted against the 4-way stop sign. I was the lone vote no, but I will back this council up. But you think there were a lot of close calls before? I'd say 10 times worse than it ever was. I just hope people are going to adjust to it. I've sat down there a couple times now, and a lot of us local people just driving right through, bicycles driving right through. But it's a lot worse than it ever was before.
Well, hopefully it's an adjustment period, but if it really is,
I hope it is.
yeah, I hope it is, but if it really is a problem, he will fix it, we'll take it, we'll go back.
So, anyone else?
I'm good.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved, or sorry, supported.
And we are adjourned.
I've received a